So, how did the hearings go? I've been getting the view of Sam Spittle, Director of Litigation at the Legal, Defence and Educational Fund of the NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Coloured People, and Amy Swearer, a legal fellow at the Meese Center for Legal and Judicial Studies, attached to the Conservative Heritage Foundation.
Well, I think from a conservative standpoint, these hearings really could not have gone better. Judge Barrett showed herself to be every bit the brilliant legal mind that she was advertised to be. I think she handled herself with remarkable grace. I think even conservatives who had high expectations for her going in were even pleasantly surprised to see that she really exceeded those expectations. And I think further, it seemed that Democrats implicitly understood it's going to be a hard sell to make the hearings about Judge Barrett and her qualifications. So you saw a lot of time spent instead redirecting, talking about President Trump, the elections, especially in the first couple of days, trying to make this less about Judge Barrett and more about the elections and partisanship generally. But I think overall, this was a very good week for Judge Barrett.
Sam Spittle, your overall impression?
Well, I think I would have to start by talking about why these hearings were so unprecedented and so deeply troubling. When we're in the midst of a general presidential election in this country that has already started, and just 4 years ago, when there was a vacancy in the court much earlier in 2016, the same senators who are now moving forward with the hearing said that it would undermine the very health of our republic. This was Senator Tillis of North Carolina, for example, to move forward with a divisive confirmation process, and that the American people should have a role in deciding the next justice of the Supreme Court through who they elected in the November election. And to have such an immediate switch right now has been deeply unsettling. With respect to Judge Barrett's testimony during the hearings, one of the things that Judge Barrett had said when she was a professor was that the public realizes that individuals who are nominated to be judges have a judicial philosophy. And however cagey, that was her word, someone is during the confirmation process, the public knows that people have a philosophy. And what I thought we saw in these hearings was exactly that phenomenon, where Judge Barrett refused to answer questions such as, is voter intimidation illegal? When under the law, it clearly is. When she said it would be a political question to answer whether or not presidents should unequivocally commit to the peaceful transfer of power. When she refused to say whether it was wrong to separate children from their parents at the border. So this was just another example after example of refusing to answer just basic questions that make it impossible to evaluate her role as a potential Supreme Court justice.
And yes, as you intimated, Amy, this was happening so close to a presidential election. There were lots of political traps laid for her, weren't they? That's what Sam is alluding to there. And you would say that she deftly sidestepped them?
Well, I think I would take issue respectfully with Sam's characterization of Judge Barrett's refusal to answer some of these questions as being unprecedented or unusual. This is something that, frankly, going all the way back to Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg in the 90s with her nomination hearings, this has been something where nominees do not talk about how they might rule or analyze hypothetical future cases. In Justice Ginsburg's own words, there will be no hints, no predictions, nothing of that sort. And part of that is, in order to have an independent judiciary, you don't want a nominee who is going to pre-commit to rulings on cases that are likely going to come before them. So I don't think that's unusual. And I understand, as Judge Barrett said herself, to people who aren't familiar with why nominees do this and why nominees refuse to get into the specific details of hypothetical cases, that might seem cagey, but this is not unexpected. This is not unprecedented. This is actually par for the course.